every interpersonal office activity have in common? And by activities, I mean negotiation, conflict resolution, project management, difficult conversations. All of these things that we do as individual contributors and of managers in the office. They all have one thing in common, that influence-based techniques can enhance their success. Let me give you some examples. Negotiation. What actually is negotiation? It's two people or two groups trying to influence each other to get the things that they need out of the negotiation. How about conflict resolution? That comes in three flavors. Let's say that you're mad at me. Then conflict resolution is me trying to influence you for us to get along. If I'm an executive role or in a manager's role, it might be trying to get two people who work for me who are fighting or arguing to get along so that we can get the work done. Or in some cases, what it is that let's say that I'm in an executive role, for example, in IT, and there are two business users who are arguing and I need both of their support in order for me to get my project done, then I need to influence the two of them to get along. Next is leadership. What do we do as leaders? Is we come up with a vision. We come up with a direction that we want our organization to do. Once that's done, everything else is getting people to line up with us to do it. What is that? It's influence. How about delegation? With delegation, you think, oh, that's simple. You're the manager, you just tell people what to do and they do it. Not so much, once in a while. You want to influence them to do it well and try to motivate them to understand how they can do it in a way that's not only best for you, but that's best for them. Next is sales. If you've ever worked with a salesperson, what's their goal? Yep, their goal actually is to get you to buy their product. How do they do it? Through influence. And how about project managers? Do you know what? All of the things, with the exception of sales, and sometimes that too, that we've talked about in the last minute or two, project managers do all of this stuff as part of their regular daily task. So what is office influence, if you really sit back and you think about it? Well, how about you? What do you think it is? What I would say is that it's the ability to move someone's actions, thinking, or direction to meet my goal. But now that brings up another question. What percentage of your time do you spend trying to influence others? And what I mean by influence is there's the initial ask. When you say, oh, will you do this for me? And then what are all of those things that go on after it? It's the email follow-up. It's the pass in the hallway. It's the phone call. Oh, just wanted to see where that stands. It's the third time you email them. And you don't want to say, hey, will you do it already? So what do you say? You say, is there any other information that I can provide you so we can move ahead with this? What I keep in my head is, will you get the darn thing done already? I've asked that question to people about what percentage of their day is spent influencing others. I've asked it hundreds of times in keynotes, in training classes, in surveys, etc., in the research we've done. And the average comes down to between 40 and 60% of people's days. Now, for those in transactional type roles, where it's basically sit at their desk and process, more like 10 to 20, usually centering around 15. For those people in executive roles, in client service, in management roles, project managers, business analysts, everything where you're dealing with multiple people, is usually here 60, 70, I've heard as high as 95% of someone's day is spent influencing others. On average, let's just pick the number 50. Why 50? It's about right. Most people feel comfortable with it. It also makes the math easy in the next example. But what does 50% mean? It means that on average, you're spending 50% of your day, 4 hours a day, just influencing people to do things. So imagine by studying influence, oh, I'm getting a smile over here. Imagine just by studying influence, you could save 2 hours of every day of the week. What could you do with those 2 hours? Well, you could enhance your productivity. Imagine if you could get if you had 2 more hours in every day just to get things done. Say you're in a leadership role. You look like you're in a leadership role. Maybe you would want to spend that time mentoring and growing your staff, enhancing their careers, helping them get the job done, which builds loyalty and all these great things for our team, which we actually quite should do if we're in executive roles. Or maybe, let me think way outside the box on this. Maybe what this means you could do is on a Tuesday afternoon in June, if you've gotten people to do things more quickly, you have a little extra time, instead of working to 6, you could leave at 4:30 and you could go to your kid's soccer practice. Wouldn't that be a nice way to spend that time? The reason I decided to write a book on office influence was I really hadn't planned on writing any more books. But for me, this was the book that I just sort of had to write. I kept coming back to it. Is that just in teaching it for so many years, there were so many connections that I'd seen between influence and all of the other soft skills like negotiation, conflict resolution, etc. I just felt that it just kept coming out to me. In fact, is that about 6 months ago, before I started writing it, I went to my wife Cheryl and I said, Cheryl, I did a really dumb thing. She says, what did you do? I said, I wrote the table of contents for a new book, and then had to write it, but I'm glad I did.